my loves, and welcome back to Bedtime Stories with Mommy J. And we're continuing with The Day My Butt Went Psycho. And it's by Andy Griffiths, and we're going to be finishing up with Chapter 3. All right. So remember that the professionals and Zach, they want to go to the Butt-cano. All right. As the kisser tickled it, the butt seemed to undergo an amazing transformation. Its cheeks went bright pink. It blushed and went weak at the knees. And this point, the kisser reached out and picked it up with both hands. It offered no resistance, brought it to its lips, and kissed it. The butt went limp, as if dead, or at least in a faint. The kisser laid it on the ground next to him and began motioning to another butt, which submitted itself to him as easily as the first. Having charmed the butts, the kisser was now disarming them as if they were no more dangerous than a pack of marauding mushrooms. It didn't take long before he had kissed and immobilized every last butt. They lay in a large pile beside him. "Wow," said Zach, "that's incredible." "Better him than me," said the kicker. "There's no way I want to kiss a butt, not in a million years." Zach watched the kisser produce a silver hilt flask from inside his jacket, tipped his head back, and swilled the contents. Then he spat out a mouthful of greenish liquid and dabbed at the corners of his mouth with his white handkerchief. He took another swig and repeated the process. "What's he doing?" said Zach. "Gargling," said the smacker. "I have to wash my hands after fighting butts. The kicker has to polish his boots, and the kisser has to wash his mouth out with industrial-grade disinfectant. As the great butt fighters have always said, if you want to make it as a butt fighter, you have to keep it clean. It's a dirty business." Eleanor opened the hatch. "Let's go," she said, climbing out of the Buttmobile. The kicker and a smacker followed her. Zach was about to follow them when the radio crackled into life. "Butt Shelter 5 to Buttmobile BH007, said a voice. "Do you copy?" Zach picked up the handset and pushed the button. "Loud and clear," he said. The radio seemed to be working fine now that the butts were out of action and no longer able to jam the airwaves. "What is your position, Buttmobile BH007, said the voice. "We're on your landing pad," said Zach. The voice on the other end spluttered. "You're what?" "You're in extreme danger. Repeat, extreme danger. Do not leave your craft under any circumstances. The whole area surrounding the butt shelter is infested with butts." "It's okay," said Zach. "The B team has them under control." "You're the B team?" said the voice. "The B team?" "Well," said Zach, "it's not, but the B team is standing on your roof next to a pile of freshly kissed butts." Zach climbed out of the cockpit. "Unbelievable," said the voice. "We'll be right up." Zach climbed out of the cockpit, out through the hatch, and jumped down onto the landing pad. He walked across into the pile of butts. "Are they dead?" he said to the kisser, who was applying fresh lip gloss to his swollen lips. "No," said the kisser. "Just resting. They'll stay like that for weeks now. Plenty of time to be relocated to somewhere else where they can't do any harm." "Plenty of time to kick their butts, too," said the kicker, surging forward. "No," said the kisser, stepping between him and the butts. "They're not hurting anybody. Leave them be." "But they're butts," said the kicker. "Dirty, stinky, rotten, no good, filthy, smelly butts." "Save your energy," said the smacker. "You're going to need it. We still got a long way to go." The kicker looked at the kisser. "Whose side are you on anyway?" he snarled. "Isn't that obvious?" said the kisser, dabbing at the corners of his mouth with his handkerchief, which was not quite so white anymore. "Ignore him," said the smacker. "He's spouting more hot air than all these butts put together." "Boy, are we glad to see you," said a voice behind them. "Those butts have been giving us trouble all morning." Zach turned around to see a small, officious-looking man. He was just like a soldier from World War I. "Welcome to Butt Shelter 5, he said, saluting. "I'm Captain Vincent Brown. Won't you all come inside? It's crowded, but we always got room for a few more." "Thanks," said the smacker, "but we got to keep moving." She put her hand on Zach's shoulder. "We just want to leave young Zach here, if that's okay with you." "That's fine, of course," said the captain. "Any friend of the B team is a friend of ours." Zach turned to the smacker, trying to blink back tears. "I really wish I could come with you," he said. The smacker put her arm around him. "You have to stay, Zach," she said. "You don't want to get mixed up with the world of butt fighting." I'm already mixed up in it, he said. That's my butt out there. I've got a responsibility to stop it. If anyone can talk it out of this, I can. No, Zach, said the smacker gently. You got a false butt now. Put on and forget about your first one. Here, I'll give you a hand. Just loosen your belt a little. Zach was too upset to argue. He loosened his belt. The smacker took the false butt from Zach's hand and pushed it down the back of his pants and into place. She patted it gently. How's that? She said. Suddenly, Zach was overwhelmed by a powerful urge to go to the bathroom. Where's the nearest toilet? He asked Captain Brown. Just go down the steps and turn right, he said. Zach made it just in time. It was pleased to discover that the false butt worked just like the regular butt. In fact, in at least one way, it was even better. It was self-wiping. Maybe the smacker is right, thought Zach. He wondered if he'd be better off staying at the butt shelter with his false butt and forgetting about his real butt. But he couldn't. His butt was trying to take over the world. He couldn't just stay there and pretend it wasn't happening. He had to do something. He knew that the B team wasn't going to allow him to come with them, not if they knew about it. But what if they didn't know about it? What if he stowed away? Zach figured that all he had to do was to stay hidden until they passed out of the range of any other butt shelters. Then they have no choice but to take him. It was worth a try. All right. Zach climbed back up the steps to the door. At the top of the steps, there was an emergency telephone. He wondered whether he should call his gran and let her know that he was all right. If his plan to stow away worked, he might not get another chance, and there was no telling how long he would be away. He didn't know what he would tell her, but he didn't want her to be worrying about him. She had enough to worry about. With the war and probably her own butt before too long. Zach rang her number. She picked up the receiver after only one ring, as if expecting his call. Hello? She said, Zach, is that you? Yes, Gran, said Zach, a bit surprised. How did you know? You weren't in your bed this morning. Is everything all right? Sure, Gran, said Zach. I'm fine. Really? Said his Gran. I thought you might have been conscripted. Suddenly, Zach had his excuse. It was perfect. Actually, he said, I have been conscripted. I might not be home for a while. Do you know where they're sending you? She said, I'm on a secret mission, Gran. He lied. Can't stay too much on the phone. I quite understand, she said. Thanks, Gran, said Zach. I've got to go now. Well, good luck, she said. I've just got one piece of advice for you, Zach. What's that, Gran? He said. Don't forget to wash your hands. And then she was cut off. Zach tried to call back, but the line was dead. Why had Gran warned him to wash his hands, he wondered. It was a strange piece of advice to give somebody who was apparently going off to war. Unless it was a butt war, of course. But how could she have known that? It was probably just a grandmotherly sort of thing to say. Like, look both ways before you cross the street, or remember to brush your teeth. Zach shook his head. Whatever it was, he didn't have time to figure it out now. He had to get on board the Buttmobile while there was still time. All right, my loves, that was the end of chapter 3. And we're going to be on to chapter 4. Make sure you brush your teeth, say your prayers, and hugs and kisses, and have many sweet dreams. I love you. Mwah! Good night.